We're here in Lancashire. It's night 4 of our 8-night investigation. Stay with us as we continue our terrifying search for the 8 faces of evil.
This is Most Haunted Live, the 4th night of an unprecedented 8-night paranormal investigation, and we have based ourselves here, inside the now dilapidated Winter Gardens Theatre in Morecambe, on the Lancashire coast. This building is a hotbed of paranormal activity. It got us off to a terrifying start on Saturday night, and we are looking for 8 faces of evil. So far, we've encountered the Beast, the Butcher, and last night, a terrifying night, a blood-soaked murderer. Tonight we'll be taking our paranormal investigation further afield and into a place of domestic evil. Yvette Fielding and the team are travelling there now, so I urge you to stay with us for the next 4 hours. Close the curtains, maybe pour yourselves a drink, as I lay before you what's coming up in the next hour.
Move something.
This person I'm picking up, if you like, the person who's incarcerated, I'm feeling more and more. I see a woman locked up for a long, long time by a very powerful man.
Most Haunted Live is where inherited gifts of mediumship and clairvoyance meet the latest and most cutting-edge scientific technology, the science of parapsychology. And so far, that incredible combination has yielded over the last 3 nights some amazing results. Results like this.
Yeah. There it is.
It's coming from over there.
Listen, go and see it. Oh, come on. Yeah, that was good, that.
My heartbeat is seriously going.
God, you're shaking like a leaf. It's scary now. Sorry, I've got really excited. That was snatched out of our hands.
Sorry, it was... yeah, okay. But touch his head. You're free, you're absolutely freezing.
The walkie-talkie here is actually shaking because it's not from paranormal, it's actually from Stuart shaking.
I'm just shaking, my body's so tense and... He's strangled her, and he's quite happy with the fact that he's cut her up.
You're a murderer, aren't you? You all right, Carl?
I'm going to throw up.
No, you...
Doctor,
Yes, how did
they've hung him. 1936. Good feeling.
All right.
There's something in there.
What?
Something either fell from the ceiling or was thrown. Some debris just fell down in that area.
Cool. What's the matter?
Can you not hear that? There's a constant...
Get with me, he's actually in my ear going, and that's what he's doing.
How many? Can you see this man that's following us? 2 for yes, 1 for no. Yes.
Still whispering.
He's going to kill us.
I'll kill you.
Smell burning.
Oh,
I can now.
I can smell it.
Hey! Did it?
And that is the stories so far, and tonight's journey promises to be even more intense. And sharing that journey with us, would you make them welcome, please? Dr. Kieran O'Keefe, parapsychologist, and our master of all things interactive, Julian Clegg. So, Julian, we have never asked so much of people at home, people in the audience. We've never had as many cameras in the studio. We've never had as many CCTV cameras. We've never had as many web cameras. What's the response been like?
Well, last night actually was one of the highest number of sightings we've ever had on webcams, which I think is interesting. And it could be down to the fact we've got 8 webcams, but it was an extraordinary night. And the other theme of the night, Paul, was animals, dogs growling on the webcam down in the basement, and linked and predictions early in the evening that something would happen to Carl and Stuart, which it then went on to do 2 hours later after we got the messages, which is the kind of thing we like. If people predict things and think something's going to happen, that's amazing.
Now, Kieran, welcome. I think each of the 3 nights you've had some fascinating psychological experiments, real use of technology, but we started with something a bit retro. We started with those Victorian cameras around the Victorian sounds. What was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it wasn't so much, they weren't Victorian cameras, of course, they're modern cameras.
But the idea was we were trying to capture
around
them. We've got moving picture cameras, you were using still cameras.
Still cameras. The idea is, of course, people know that a lot of the evidence for the paranormal comes from still photography. People are always sending me digital photos of alleged ghosts, that sort of thing. Now, if you've just got one camera and you take a photograph and something anomalous is on it, then you don't have a backup. You don't have the situation where you can say, well, somebody else was taking a photograph at the same time and they didn't capture it from that angle. With all these cameras, you've got loads and loads of backup.
Well, let's look at a couple of images, and I know Julian asked people at home to comment on these. Here's the first one, okay? Now, that's a fairly standard photograph with nothing untoward in it, okay? But if we take a look at it again, same setup, and we've got that top left-hand almost blur of light, shard of light, call it what you will, which again, people commented on at home. What the dickens is that, do you think, Kieran?
Yeah, there's a line coming down from the ceiling, isn't it? Yeah, on that bit. The only caveat I'll have to put in place is remember that these were cameras operating without a flash, so they're on a very, very long exposure. So if there was anything that was coming from the ceiling or any slight dust or anything like that, and it got a reflection off any of the studio lights, the long exposure may have caused a movement effect, and that's one possible explanation.
Okay, Sunday night, we're in Lancaster itself, Palatine House, the home of a dreadful double murder, and it's now being used for something very different. It's not a domestic house anymore. We took all the phones off the hook, they kept ringing. I think we can actually see what happened. We've got some shots of it. Just listen to this, folks. Phone clearly off the hook.
That's it.
It's muted, but the ringing is there. Now that drove us mad for a while, people were commenting on it at home. Yeah. What would have caused that, do we think?
Well, straight away, as soon as it happened, I was stumped. I even said to a vet, I don't really know what's going on here, I've never come across it. But I spoke to people who've worked in similar office, and there is the possibility of having a network where you can have the phone off the hook, but you can still get phone calls coming through, especially in phones where you may have a headset plugged in. You can still have the phone off the hook, but still get a ring. The reason it was only one ring is because it was forwarding to a central kind of voicemail bank, essentially, because, of course, the offices were closed.
The main question the viewers ask about that is they get things happening at home as well, like phones going, clocks stopping, electrical items, lights going on and off. Yeah. And is there a paranormal explanation, or can you find a scientific explanation for it?
Well, I'm giving the sceptical explanation, and I think I found a valid reason for what was going on there. But there's this huge history in parapsychology. There's a classic book by a guy called Scott Rogo called Phone Calls from the Dead, and it's exactly that. Yeah. It's hundreds upon hundreds of people getting similar sort of phenomena, but they get the phenomena where the phone rings, they pick it up, and of course it is actually a phone call from the dead. It's somebody on the other side talking to them.
And hopefully not reversing the charges. Now, last night you used a lot of technology. It was all about sound. We had an infrasound experiment. You set it up. We're going to take a look at the early stages. Then you got very excited. Look at this first.
This comes from your theory